Today we're going to finish section 6.1. We've been looking at the set of rational numbers, and we have one example left that we're going to take a look at. This last example is one that mirrors the kinds of, it doesn't really mirror, but it's an example of the kinds of things that can show up in that section C of the problem sets that we get. So the connections section has a lot of applications and interesting observations. It's got student work sometimes in it where you edit things or look for mistakes that the students has made. It's a compilation of a lot of different things. They're not directly going to be like examples I've done in class. That's how section C just is. So this is an example of a problem like that. So if we take the set of numbers equivalent to 1/3, okay, so let's just pause right there and make sure that we understand that statement. What does it mean to take numbers that are equivalent to 1/3? Somebody give me an equivalent number to 1/3. 2/6. 3/9. Okay, so these are the numbers they're talking about. Good. And we graph them as points on an XY axis so that the numerator becomes the X coordinate and the denominator becomes the Y coordinate. So for this one, the numerator becomes X, the denominator becomes Y, it becomes the point 1,3. Does that make sense? Okay, and we're going to do that the same with all the numbers that we have. We've listed 3 of them. I'm going to add one more on the list here in just a moment, but you can do them for anything that would be in the ratio 1/3. So if we graph these, what type of graph do we get? That's what the question is. The one that I want to add in is I want to add in what happens if you use a negative. So I'm going to do -1 over -3 as well, just so that I have a positive and a negative to have on my graph. So I'd have -1, -3. Okay, everybody good so far? Okay, so we're going to plot these 4 points. I actually have a grid set up over here. And I think that'll be enough down so we can do it that way. Okay, so we've got the point 1,3, which would be here. We've got the point 2,6, which should be here. I can't do 3,9. It's not quite on my graph. That's okay. And I have -1, -3, which would be here. Let me move it up just a little bit. Okay, that still works. Okay, so what do you think I need to do with these points?
Draw a line.
Yeah, we're going to draw a line. We have chosen nice values. I mean, right? We've chosen the 1/3 and the 2/6. But there's fractional values between these that all still have the same ratio, correct? Yeah, there are. So we're going to draw a line. And we're going to answer the question that's been asked of us. Sometimes I have to draw the line and then move it in order for it to do what I want it to do. So there we go. Here's my line. So the question asked us, what type of graph do we get? So we get a line. It's linear, right? So you can describe it as linear. You can say this is a line. We do want to give a little bit more specification. I mean, lines have lots of features to them. So tell me some feature you know about this line.
Straight.
Okay, lines are always straight. That's true. But by definition, lines are always straight. Something else.
Positive slope.
Okay, it's positive slope. Do you know what the slope is? Is it 1/3? It's 3. Yeah, the slope is 3, rise over run. So it goes up 3 and over 1. So this is a line with slope 3. What's another feature that we often describe when we're looking at a graph?
Like what coordinates it's in?
Well, at least one of the coordinates it has. So usually the specific coordinate we describe is the y-intercept. So where does this cross the y-axis? At 0, 0. So I want us to pause for a moment and consider what that means. 0, 0 is a point that's currently on the line that I have drawn. And there's a problem. What's the problem with 0, 0? Okay, it's not a fraction. Specifically, it's not the fraction 1/3. Right? It's definitely on that line. There's no question that the way that we've connected things, it should be on that line with this description. But it's actually not because it does not have that ratio 1/3. So this one would actually be a line with slope 0 through 0, 0, right, through the origin, where, we'll just say 0, 0. You could say the origin or whatever, where 0, 0 is a hole in the graph. It will not have that ratio, but every other point that you could choose, even, the ones that are sort of like in between and so forth, right? So if I picked, say, like this spot right here, it would have the ratio 1/3. There's no problem with that spot. It's all the other, the only problem we have is right here. So if you were sort of going back to think about what does it look like, there's an open circle there. And you probably encountered that in a math class before, this idea of having an open circle on a graph. Probably not in this context, though. So it's an application of the number 1/3 where it doesn't quite do what we would expect. Any questions on that?